Today's video is just a rant and the visuals are simply going to be some gameplay from Afterlife Empire. This is my kind of buggered house that I botched, and also it's kind of glitched. You can see those doorways, I can't fix that. Anyway, on with the rant. Someone goes to a restaurant and they order a dish. They say there was too much acidity, it was overpowering, it ruined it. They are criticizing the food. They are a critic. Someone else gets the same dish and they analyze it and they say, well, this has a high fat content. You need to be careful. You can't just eat this all the time. You have to be aware of that. Is that criticism of that dish? I wouldn't say so. That is more like someone who is a health advisor, maybe, giving you advice and just looking at that particular food. If anything, it's almost like they're criticizing the people who would decide to have that often. There's one more example I want to give that's a bit more extreme. Someone comes in, analyzes the food, and says, wow, there is E. coli in this. This is dangerous. That's what I'd imagine a health inspector saying. They're finding things that are true or not and saying, well, this is dangerous, you can't be doing this. So all three of these were really negative judgments, but from different perspectives and for different purposes, and also with different sets of expertise. Let's look at one other thing like this before I move on to what I wanted to talk about. Now, forgive my ignorance, I don't know what someone who tastes beer is called, but let's just call them a beer taster. They might have some beer and they might say, it tastes like this or like that, and that's good, or I find that to be bad. They may also share some facts about it and say what they think. So they might just straight up say what the alcohol content is. They might say, that's quite high, that's quite low, whatever. I don't know, I'm no expert, but you get my point. They share their thoughts as a critic, as an expert at telling, I guess, what's good in a beer, or even just sharing their experienced opinion or personal taste. The reason I chose to mention alcohol content is because imagine someone else looks at the alcohol content and their commentary is, well, a beer of that alcohol content, you should be careful not to drink too many of those in an evening. You should not go over however many, to not go over this many units. Is that beer criticism? Is that sharing their judgment on that beer? I'd say no. I mentioned previously a critic noting facts and then sharing their opinion. This is someone noting a fact, the same fact, and then stating further facts that you should be careful. It can be bad if you have this much. Now, in this instance, no one's really going to dispute that having too much alcohol is very bad for you. I'm sure we've all seen the effects firsthand, and of course there is research into it. On alcohol here, you have a note that says, chief medical officers recommend this many units per day. We also have things like know your limits, with the idea of understand drinking, right, drinking's fine, you just have to be careful with it, understand the risks, understand that you need to know your limits, blah blah blah. All good, right? And based on relevant experts and research and all that good stuff. But it would be fucking weird to see a review of a craft beer based around that. Or to create a better parallel with what I'm about to talk about, a site that reviews drinks, and when it comes to alcoholic drinks, they're constantly talking about the dangers of it, the health impacts. They're not advocating for a ban or anything like that, just that people have to be careful. They must understand when it comes to these kinds of drinks, you have to be responsible. And not just a little note or a link to a site with information. A significant portion of the review is about that, and they mark the drink down for it. It is absolutely true that alcohol can be a problem, but that is really, really weird, isn't it? It isn't really criticism, is it? It's providing information about the effect of consumption of such products. But here's the thing, drinks containing alcohol are everywhere. They're for adults, and there is plenty of information out there. Issues surrounding alcohol are well known, and you can point them to resources, and it applies to any alcoholic beverage, right? If alcoholic drinks were a new thing and we didn't know about them, you might include that. That might make sense. In that instance, you really would be going out of your way to make sure consumers are informed. It'd be kind of weird to mark it down for being what it's meant to be, though. Imagine a wine taster saying, I don't give anything 10 out of 10 because they are all alcoholic, so they lose a point. Anyway, that is the end of my long-winded exposition. What I see as part of the future of games criticism is not criticism whatsoever. I see these so-called progressive critics saying, yes, you can still enjoy all these games, but you have to recognize that there are problematic elements. Do I really? Why? And why do you have to constantly say that? Why can't you just point me to a resource that shows me that's the case? There are sites like, I believe it's called Know Your Limit for alcohol. Why don't we have a site for sexualized female characters in games? Something that compiles all of the, hard research, all the information about exactly how you have to recognize it to protect yourself from whatever the effects are. And maybe do that for every problematic element. Because like when you get an alcoholic drink, you know there's going to be alcohol in it. If you get an 18 rated game, you know there's going to be stuff in it that makes it 18 rated. And if it's something like with alcoholic drinks where, yes, you can have it, yes, you can enjoy it, you have to just be aware of the issues. Why would you have to say that for every adult game? It's almost like it's bullshit, not backed up, not true, and they're using their so-called criticism to try to convince people of facts rather than to criticize a creative work as a creative work. But, as usual, that's just another one of my harmful opinions.